From the KDLM studios in Detroit Lakes, it's Hodge Podge with Carol McCarthy, presented by Partnership for Health, and now airing on TV3.
And today on Hodge Podge, I've got Detroit Lakes Mayor Matt Brenk in the studio with me this morning. Good morning, Mayor Brenk.
Good morning.
Happy December.
It's a chilly good morning.
Feels more like January.
Nice and toasty in the studio, though.
It is. Yeah, that heater is pumping out some nice warm heat. All right. Well, we've got a lot to get to this last month of the year. Lots of things happening at the final meeting of 2019, including the budget and levy approval for next year. Also, you had a presentation by the school district. We'll get to that. Also, we'll talk more about some of the other things that are wrapping up for the year. All the street projects obviously have wrapped up now. We're focusing on plowing and that sort of thing. So lots to get to with Mayor Brenk this morning, this December morning, as we wrap up one year and look to the next. So let's talk about the budget and levy. A great presentation given by Finance Officer Pam Slifka last night.
Yeah, she did give a great presentation. And if anyone is interested in looking at her presentation, you can go on our website, the City of Detroit Lakes website, and take a look at that. But basically, the bottom line on our budget and levy for next year is we had a budget of about a 4.5% increase for next year. And if you look at how that translates into people's real estate taxes, if you take a $140,000 home, you'll actually see a decrease in your city taxes. And also on a commercial property valued at $500,000, your decrease would be about $117. And that's because of the increase in our tax base. The city's a growing, vibrant place, and we've got more tax base to spread out the costs over. And so most people will see a little decrease in their taxes next year on the city side.
Oh, that's good news. Some of the other things that she went through, and she does a great job at laying out everything and goes into detail of why, we've incurred costs and some of the increases, why the increases are happening. But she also talks about the different funding the city receives. Of course, the levy is part of that to fund these costs, and also the local government aid, which is from the state and has gone down considerably through the years. And she also pointed out we've lost since 2002, $14 million that weren't coming into city coffers because of that.
If you go back to like 2003, we received about $1.6 million in local government aid. This past year and this coming year, our local government aid is only going to be about $631,000. So we're way below most of the communities around us, Fergus Falls, Alexandria, Crookston, Thief River, in terms of local government aid. But because we are a growing, vibrant community, we've been able to pick up the slack. We've been able to tighten our belts and do more with less, I guess, over the last 10 or 15 years. And so we're fiscally in good shape in spite of the reductions in LGA. And also, as you alluded to, we do have some enterprise funds in Detroit Lakes that help buy down our property taxes. One of those being our public utilities, which makes a payment in lieu of taxes to the city. I think that's about somewhere in here. It's five or $550,000 from that fund, and then also from the city utility payment in lieu is $605,000. The municipal liquor store transfers about $561,000 into the general fund, and so those two funds buy down our property taxes by about 20%. In addition to that, we have a local food and beverage tax, and we use that for certain projects that are allowable under the food and beverage tax. And those also have an effect of keeping property taxes lower, because if we didn't have that tax, we'd have to rely on property taxes or some other source of revenue. And of course, we're going to fund our new police department with a local option sales tax. And that'll also keep the pressure off the property taxes. And it also allows suburban people and visitors to our community to help contribute to that project. And so anyway, Pam pointed out those things, and those are good funds to have to keep those property taxes down.
All right, Mayor Matt Brenk from Detroit Lakes in the studio with me this morning. Just talking about taxes. So the property tax, the tax levy that was approved last night, along with the 2020 budget, was 4.5%. And as you alluded to, that it could have been much more had it not been for the enterprise funds that were transferred over from the liquor store and the utilities. But I also wanted you to talk about the tax. The special sales tax that we have implemented to build the police station. Some good news there. If there is good news associated with taxes.
That tax started to be collected on October 1st here in the city of Detroit Lakes. And it's a half-cent sales tax to fund the new law enforcement facility for the police department. And we received our first remittance from the Minnesota Revenue Department just the other day. And we had projected about $75,000 for the month of October, and the actual collection we received was about $125,000. Excuse me. So it's considerably more than we projected. It's maybe a little early to see if there's a trend there, but if that trend were to hold true, we would actually be able to pay off the new facility in quite a few years, maybe 4.5 years instead of 7 or 7.5 years. So far, good news, but we'll have to just see how the trend goes in the coming months.
So that just means people are buying more stuff.
Well, it means Detroit Lakes is a happening place. People want to come here and use our goods and services and buy things and live here and work here.
All right. Detroit Lakes Mayor Matt Brenk in the studio with us this morning. And that was just, that's kind of how Pam Slifka wrapped it up last night, is that it's a very good story to tell for the city of Detroit Lakes. So looking at the budget and tax levy, she kind of broke down all the services that your taxes go toward, and really paying a minimal cost for the services you get, like snow removal, police protection, fire protection, and all that. A fire department per month, it amounts to 73 cents a month for a homeowner, $140,000 homeowner.
Yeah, she had some
cool.
good graphs, and she broke down, again, on a $140,000 home. That's usually what we use for example. I don't know why, but she broke down how much per month you actually pay for snow removal or for the fire department or any of the different services you get as a citizen or a taxpayer in Detroit Lakes. And compared to what people pay for their cable TV or their cell phones.
City of Detroit Lakes in the studio with us this morning. And we're talking about, as we're wrapping up the year, we had the approval of the 2020 budget and tax levy last night by the Detroit Lakes City Council. Some of the other things we'll get to here this morning. Chickens. We got to talk chickens. Chickens were a big topic in 2019, especially the end of the year. The city council has passed a resolution updating the ordinance to allow up to 4 hens in their backyard.
Correct.
And so that was finalized last night.
Yes, we gave a second reading to the ordinance change, and people can now have up to 4 hens in their backyard chicken coop, and there's lots of restrictions and different things that are involved with this. So we hope we've crafted a good ordinance where people can have chickens if they so desire, but they're also we hope that it's not going to be a problem for neighbors and different things like that. So.
Well, I know one woman pointed out, one of the people that were for the chickens, a resident, said that there are still a lot of hoops for people who want chickens to go through. I mean, to actually build coops and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you have to have the coop built to the certain specifications, and the chicken run. You have to take care of the manure, and you have to do different things to be in compliance with the permit you get to have the chickens. And so we think we've done the best we can, and I guess we'll see how it goes.
A few more hoops for the coops
Yeah.
to jump through. Okay, so that's good news coming out of 2019. Bring on the chickens. Also, we'll talk about, we've got a number of street projects that the city is gearing up for, as well as we're wrapping up 1 year and heading into the next. Of course, now our streets are snow-laden, so now it's just time to plan, I guess.
Yeah, a couple of streets, and we've talked about these the last few months. The Willow Street and West Avenue project, substantially completed. There's still some paving to do on West Avenue for the first layer, and then the whole substantially complete. We're starting to plan for a project next summer on Washington Avenue from Willow Street down to just south of the North Shore Drive intersection, and that'll be reconstructed with the new concrete and streetscapes like the rest of Washington Avenue moving to the north, so that'll match up with that. We had also planned on doing Westlake Drive from Legion Road down to County 6, but we've run into a few snags with some of the right-of-way issues, and also now we're going to be required to do some kind of an archaeological study on that project, and so it's looking more and more like that project's not going to happen next year, hopefully the year after. Lots of stormwater going into the lake along there that's untreated, which is not good. And there's a lot of people that bike and walk along that stretch of road, and the speeds sometimes get a little faster than they should be. And so there's a huge safety element along there as well. So hopefully we're going to be able to work through this and get that project done, especially for those two reasons, but also because the road needs to be redone. It's in tough shape.
All right, Detroit Lakes Mayor Matt Brenk in the studio with us this morning, and we're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more after this.
Now, back to Hodge Podge with Carol McCarthy on KDLM Detroit Lakes.
Welcome back to Hodge Podge this Wednesday morning, December 11th, 2019. Back in the studio with Detroit Lakes Mayor Matt Brenk. Final month of 2019. Budget and levy set for next year. Things wrapping up for the calendar year. And Mayor Brenk, some of the other things on the agenda last night, of course, a couple of retirements going to happen at the, one at the end of this year and one at kind of the beginning of next year.
Yeah, Fire Chief Scott Flynn has resigned, and over about 25 years of service on our volunteer fire department, and so we were honored to give Scott a plaque last evening, thanking him and honoring him for his years of service, and also we welcomed Ryan Swanson as our new fire chief here in Detroit Lakes, and Ryan will do a tremendous job for us, and
right.
Scott did as well. And also, as you mentioned, our Public Works Director, Brad Green, is going to retire effective February 7th, 2020. And so we've just gone out with advertisement for a new Public Works Director. If anyone's interested in taking a look at that, it's posted on different websites. You can go on the city website, I believe, and Jobs HQ and different things like that. So we'll be sad to see Brad go. He's done a tremendous job in growing the city the years he's been with us. And so, yeah, two significant retirements last night.
Right. Yeah. So say farewell to a couple of folks and incoming folks taking over. It's hard to believe Scott Flynn has put in 25. Those guys still look pretty young.
You know, those guys do such a great job for the city, and they're so underappreciated, and they kind of fly under the radar. So, thank you, Scott, and thank you all our firefighters.
Exactly. So Detroit Lakes Mayor Matt Brenk in the studio with us this morning. Another presentation last night, given at the beginning of the council meeting. You had folks in from the Detroit Lakes School District and updating you on the academy, that model that is in practice at the high school and kind of where they're going with that. And that's kind of a great draw for the city, too, as kids are being trained maybe to get into the workforce along with graduating from high school.
Yeah, first and foremost, great schools are, a cornerstone to a great community, and we have a great school district here, and it's great to have. Superintendent Froke introduced Josh Omang and Vern Schnadors last night, and they explained the new academy concept for the high school, and I think they're on the right track. I won't get into the weeds on the details, but I think this is really going to help address some of the workforce shortages that we and many other cities in Minnesota have, and all this stuff's tied together: the education, the workforce, the daycare, the housing. It's all part of the big puzzle. So great to see the high school taking these types of initiatives to address the future of our kids.
Right. So get them out there and get them into the community and working. And, of course, we've got the construction of the school buildings and the facilities going on right now. So that's also a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know too much on the timeline there.
Right.
Obviously, we can see what's happening at Rossman and at the middle school. But I think Superintendent Froke said next spring right away the high school project will be starting.
And then the actual academy part of the school will be built.
Correct.
Right now, it's all in the classroom, virtual. All right, so that was going on, an update from those folks. Also, one of the updates, too, that somewhat has something to do with the school district and the city. You guys are in partnership with a lot of different entities. In the school district, of course, you partner with facilities on the arena facility. But maybe folks need to know that the city purchased a new Zamboni, state-of-the-art Zamboni, for $153,000.
Right, it's going to be an electric-powered Zamboni, and we had a little Zamboni 101 last night from Tom Gulan, our park supervisor. And the state of Minnesota has really tightened up the emissions standard for indoor ice facilities, and so the propane or natural gas fired Zambonis, it's just tougher to meet that standard. And there's a lot more maintenance and different things you have to do with a gas powered machine, and so going to the electric makes a lot of sense for a number of reasons. And although they don't give them away, they're expensive. But yes, we're moving forward with that.
Okay. So the city has a number of joint committees that they are a part of, with the school district running that arena. Also, you hold these meetings. We had the district come in and talk about the academy, but once a quarter you meet with the joint governance meeting, and that's with the county, the city, the schools, the chamber, and I'm sure
the college.
So you discuss, kind of give folks an update, and maybe problems are solved, or more partnerships are formed. So that's going to continue in 2020 as well.
Yeah, hopefully we're solving and not creating problems. But yeah, we go around the room, and everybody from each entity has an opportunity to tell the group what's going on, what some of the plans are, what some of the projects are. And we do overlap in so many things. As you mentioned, we have the Kent Freeman Arena, and the school district leases ice time from the city, and there's just all sorts of things like that with each of the entities.
All right. Mayor Matt Brenk from the city of Detroit Lakes in the studio with me this morning. Also, the city is always growing, and it grew by a little bit more last night with the annexation. Final approval of the annexation. It was at Willow Springs.
Yeah, the Willow Springs area. You go north on 59 a little bit, into that neighborhood just to the north of the Oak Grove Cemetery. And we did give second reading and adoption of the ordinance annexing that area into the city of Detroit Lakes. That will be finalized, I think, sometime late March of 2020. And we were talking during the break, Carol, about the population out there. So I did look at the resolution, and the population is 124 people.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
City grew by 120 more people.
That's right.
Okay. Detroit Lakes Mayor Matt Brenk in the studio with us this morning, and wrapping up the 2019, and I'm sure that you will give your State of the City address early in 2020. My
plan is to do it at the regular council meeting in January. So that's not very far off. Probably, what are we, like 2 weeks till Christmas
here. Couple weeks away. So yes, it's going to come quick.
I'm going to have to get to work and get my ducks in a row. So.
Okay. Also, a number of things going on. Of course, you usually have an annual meeting with the council and kind of set priorities and regroup a little bit on some of the projects around town. That happens usually in January, February, too.
We have not, as a group, decided if we're going to have a quote-unquote long-term strategic planning meeting this spring or late winter, but we have typically done that the last few years, and that'll be something we'll be talking about in January.
All right. KDLM Detroit Lakes, it's 9 o'clock. Thanks, Mayor Brenk.